That's my overall view. Now it's time to get in to the nitty gritty. It's time to get in to those dreaded spoilers. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, do me a favor, like, click, sub, follow me on Twitter, follow me on my Instagram. Social media stuff will be in the description box below. And you might want to tune out and come back and watch this after you go check the movie out, because we getting into some spoilers. And real quick, this movie was insane. You literally had a live action Into the Spider-Verse. They said it couldn't be done. Who said? Because whoever said that shit needs to be slapped. Because they absolutely did it. This is literally fan service the movie, but in a good way. Now, I do have my knots with the movie, because the whole plot and thread of this movie is based upon Peter Parker wanting everybody to forget that he's Spider-Man in order to get his friends into college. None of them get into MIT, because when he's outed, as you see in the last movie, he got outed by Mysterio. It's now become really hard for his buddies and himself to get into college. One in particular, they're trying to go to MIT. They all get denied because due to current situations, yada, yada, you're affiliated with somebody that might have murdered somebody. We can't take you in. Does he try and call the school? No. Does he try and reach out to anybody? Yes. But who he reaches out to is Doctor Strange. Now, let me not get ahead of myself. One of my biggest gripes with this movie, and I've seen some other reviewers mention this, and they do try and do a decent job of, the big issue that happened at the end of the last one was he got outed as Spider-Man. Right in the middle of the city, billboards everywhere. Everybody knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. You would think that would play and have a lot more ramifications on in the movie, because from that point on, I'm looking forward to it, like, oh, how is this going to work out? How are they going to get around this? How are they going to get around that? And in all honesty, they resolved that problem within like 15 minutes of the movie. That stuff is resolved and they're on to the next thing, which kudos to the pacing, because you almost don't miss it, but then when the police kind of keep showing up, you're like, well, he's kind of got off for that. So why are you guys showing up now? And then the fact that, well, you've seen him save the world. Why are you really questioning him now? But outside of that, I wish they would have played on that a little bit longer and let that resonate a little bit more, because I felt like there was a lot of stuff that we could have got some good content from that. We could have got some good scenes and some good stuff from that kind of dynamic that they were pushing, that they literally resolved like that. But moving on, he goes to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is the same person who wouldn't tell Tony Stark if they were doing the right event and doing the right thing to defeat Thanos in the 1 in 10 million chance they had to win. He was so responsible not to tell him, but yet he's irresponsible enough to grant a wish as reckless as this to a teenager who hadn't even decided to call the college to try and talk to them. It's a little bit of a stretch, little bit. Doctor Strange isn't utilized that much, or as much as he could be, but you do got to sideline somebody that is that powerful. They have magical MacGuffins that can do whatever the hell you need them to do for whatever reason you need them to do them, without explanation. As a matter of fact, everything Tony Stark has, like Stark Tech-wise, is all basically magic at this point. Nanotechnology can do anything and everything. That's still a thing that's in this film. And another thing that has troubled me with these new iterations of the Spider-Man movies is they literally make it to where Spider-Man is not strong enough to stand alone in any of his movies. And that does kind of bother me. You got the first one, Homecoming. Iron Man's all in that mud. Iron Man prints all over it. He can't get nothing done without Iron Man's help for the most part. He's in that movie to help him push the narrative. Then you got number 2, where Iron Man's gone. But then you got Mysterio. You got Nick Fury. You got S.H.I.E.L.D. And I get it, it's an interconnected community. But can we have Tom Holland stand up for himself, represent for himself, and achieve something by his damn self? Not in this movie. No. Not gonna happen. Because in this one, not only is it him, he has Doctor Strange, 3 other Spider-Men, Doc Ock, all to help him. Not to mention, so the whole thing is, he doesn't want to send, so all of these villains basically got sucked into his universe minutes before they died. Like right before their death scene, apparently, they woke up and they were here in MCU land. So Mr. Tom Holland Parker, that's what I'll call him, he finds out that, because at first like, oh yeah, I just want to send them back. But then he finds out that, oh, well, if you send them back, you're sending them back to die, because the bulk of them die. Now, Sandman is in here, right? Sandman doesn't die in Raimi's Spider-Man 3. He just floats off and goes and tries to be a better man. So while he is mad at any point in this movie, and he actually comes out like, yo, I just want to go home. I'm even helping Spider-Man. I just want to go home. Then to where at the end, he's trying to wow out and fight against them when it's like, yo, you know better. That didn't really make too much sense either. And then Spider-Man's whole thing about, well, if I cure what's wrong with them, then they can go back and not die and be a better person. But it's like, well, if you took them from the moment when they were about to die and you send them back, regardless if they're cured or not, wouldn't they still be going back to that moment where they're about to die? Okay, if that's not the case, do you really need to cure them? You have them restrained already. Couldn't you just lock them up, like braced up, shackled down and everything, and some Stark Tech stuff, and send them back to where they're not going to be dead, they're going to be already subdued? Or, because their Spider-Man counterparts are also in the movie, I don't know, why don't you tell them, don't kill these people? It's making it really hard for me to want to send them back. Promise me you won't kill them. And he doesn't do that. And if those other Spider-Men are back, then how are they going to die by the hands of Spider-Man if they're, you get what I'm saying? There's a lot of, when you think about it, it's kind of like, there's either an easier way that we could have done this, or gave a better reason why we shouldn't send them back. But I will say the movie is paced great. It's like, hey, I know you're thinking about how that doesn't make sense, but fan service. Remember this? Remember this? Ow, my back. Remember when he said this? Remember when he said that? Remember this? Fan service. Which I'm not going to knock a movie for doing it, because they did it very successfully and it was very enjoyable to see it. And there's like some, like, this movie theater I was in was clapping and cheering harder than they did for Endgame. The only difference is I don't think there were any tears in this one. There could have been, but Tony Stark dying welled a lot of people up in that movie theater. I wasn't one of them, but you know, it is what it is. Another thing that I'm going to give credit to be honest with you, there's been a lot of knocks, and it's been one of my knocks on Spider-Man, a couple of them. One, he's just gifted all this technology, doesn't really have to work for anything. When was he ever your friendly, regular ass neighborhood Spider-Man? He really wasn't that barely ever in the MCU. and he always has to have somebody to help him out on his missions and to go along and to give him tech and to do this and do that. By the end of this movie, they essentially reset Spider-Man completely to where there's no more Stark tech for him, no more Happy's helping him, no more suits, no more nothing, and he has to start from the bottom, being the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man all over again, essentially. Classic suit. No tech in it, nothing. And I thought that was actually a pretty decent way to kind of reboot stuff. So now going forward, we can have a true iteration of Spider-Man that I feel like Spider-Man fans have been thirsting for. Because a lot of people say that Tom Holland is the most truest form of Spider-Man, and I have to disagree. Objectively speaking, Andrew Garfield was probably the closest to Spider-Man comic book wise. Tom Holland was always just kind of little, oh, hey, Mr. Stark, all dopey and kiddie. But respect to him because he does a good job playing that boyish version of Spider-Man. But with where they left this movie off at, they have a great opportunity to relaunch him as classic, vintage Spider-Man. And that I am looking forward to. But that being said, oh my God, the scenes and the action and the drama, this movie was all in all a great watch. I enjoyed this. Like if I was gonna rank comic book movies just off the top of my head, maybe my top 5, it would have to be probably Batman Begins, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, No Way Home might edge that 3 spot, then Man of Steel, then Infinity War, probably. Something like that. But just put it in it's probably in my top 5. Nah, because then I got Spider-Man 2, the Raimi one. It's in that top 5. For sure it's in that top 5. It's either in between that 3, 4, 5 slot. It's one of those. And I suggest you go see it because it was damn good. This has been another one. Spoiler review here. Ron Review Reacts. Guess what we did? We reviewed Spider-Man No Way Home. Not coming back. Stay tuned. I got some more stuff coming. More stuff down the pipeline. Follow me, like, click, sub, share, all that good stuff. We out of here.